Well, hello, everybody. I'm Ted Hope, and I'm here with Gabriel Mascaro, the director of Divine Love. And this is the Q&A for the virtual cinema release of Divine Love. Say hello, Gabriel.
Hello, Ted. I'm very happy. I'm very glad you are here to talk to me, and I'm very excited to hear from you as well. You as a great producer has a lot to say about indie movies, and I'm very happy like you are looking for Brazilian cinema and Brazilian indie cinema. So I'm very happy to be able to talk to you.
All right. Now, just to share with everybody, it is Outside of Pictures that's releasing this film. Check out their website, which is outsiderpictures.us, and the general social media handle, which is at Outsider Pictures. Um, and just so you know, this is couldn't the virtual cinema of it all couldn't happen other than Outsider has partnered with ROW8.com. And just because, hopefully you'll tell all your friends, just so you know that when you watch something, I have to say, I've really actually enjoyed COVID a bit because of virtual cinema. That being able to watch movies in the pleasure of my own home at this time has been kind of a joy. But one of the pleasures when you buy a ticket, the links are good for 48 hours after you begin watching, and probably the best part is 40% of that ticket, of that national ticket prices, go directly to support the local independent theater that you choose to buy the ticket from. So you get some fun, you get some pleasure, and we keep indie cinema and ambitious cinema alive. So, um, Gabriel and I are going to talk for about 20 minutes or so, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. Please use the Q&A box that's at the bottom of the screen. You have to click on it. Don't use the chat box, use the Q&A, and we'll see it there. So add any questions that you want. Now, it's entirely possible that some of you maybe have not seen the film yet, so we'll try our best to avoid spoilers, but I don't think that's my greatest skill. So I just want to start to tell you I volunteered to do this as I knew the film was coming out. I had the good fortune of seeing the film. It wasn't at last Sundance, it was the Sundance before.
Yeah.
And it was such a joy for me that, anyone that knows me knows I'm a huge fan of indie cinema and a huge fan of Sundance and, the movies we find there. But this film, Divine Love, was such a breath of fresh air for me. It was like nothing else that's there. And I just wish that American independent cinema could be this bold and ambitious and risk taking, because I also wish you all could have seen it in theater because those of you that have seen the film already, no doubt know that it's there are some moments that might make things a little uncomfortable for some people. And to me, that's one of the real pleasures of cinema, sitting in a theater amongst strangers in the dark and hearing people move a little bit in their seats. The film has a great deal of, as I had to explain to some people when I sent them an email about it, what NSFW meant. It has quite a bit of not safe for work footage in it. But I don't know how I can avoid spoilers. I'm not going to even try. I'm sorry, Paul. But Gabriel, this movie is so bold visually, so bold in its storytelling lines. You managed to walk what is such a precarious line, I think, that it felt entirely emotionally true and committed and sincere. Yet I couldn't help but laugh out loud at also what I found its satirical elements at the same time. Um, it it reaches high that it's really about something, and as somebody who is a non-believer in terms of religion, but has tremendous admiration for people of faith, and really still, even just saying it, my eyes water. The people's commitment to things. It felt like and totally sincere at the same time. you know I'm just shall we say, I'm super curious for you to hear a little bit about the should we say the seeds, to make a bad pun, the seeds of inspiration, just the genesis of this story. Again, bad puns galore. How did this all come to you, and how did you have the courage to embark on it?
Yeah, Brazil is curiously is very well known by a very liberal society. The carnival, all these ideas that are projected some kind of tropical country like carnival, all this stuff that we associate to the Brazilian image, no. But what happened really is that a lots of change has been changed. The politics, the conservative agenda are very strongly enrolled in Brazilian society since a strong work from this evangelical religion are totally integrated in the periphery of Brazil. And just a few data, just to let you know, that according to official data, since 2010, a new religious organization has been registered almost every hour in Brazil. It's like 24 new religious organizations every day since 2010. So we are talking about 15 years about this huge growing of very contemporary religion that has a strong impact of the cultural life of the people. You know? When there is a lack of state, there is the religions very strongly in the community. So Brazil changed rapidly, totally the paradigm of society. And in a very bipolar society, like not like how can I say, like binary society, when we see these conservative and progressive agenda so antagonic, the moves in general tend to also create some kind of stereotype about the otherness. What I tried to do was exactly the opposite. I tried to portray evangelical character, a woman of faith, that could really take care of their pace and feelings and accompany all these, of course, like critical perspective, but also giving her a slice of humanity.
So much.
And
I felt I was with her heart and soul, every inch of the way.
and for me, as an atheist, to make a movie, I was really interested and open my heart to make a movie about faith. So that was the really movement that was seduced me to make a movie about this evangelical character. And yeah, so it comes to me as a big challenge in terms of creativity, how to be close to a character. Normally, in the day-to-day life, we are trying to be as far as possible, but as an art experience, I assumed it and received this as a big challenge for myself as a human being and as an artist.
Was there something that you felt unlocked that commitment to her, that was like in your understanding of her, your sympathy for her? Was there some aspect was like, oh, I get her now?
Yes, because the curious about when the movies, for the people that didn't watch it yet, there is some kind of like sexuality therapy and all the aspect that she tries to save the couple that comes to get divorced, and she helps them to and she encourages them to be together, and they take the couple she takes the couple to the sexual therapy. But the fun thing I was reading is that there is a strong connection since the Middle Age about like eroticism and faith. And there is a book about Our Dark Side, written by Elizabeth Rodinesco, and she talks about these female characters of the Middle Age, like the hagiographies about Christian women, that like woman martyrs that are like totally donate her body to God, and some point they narrate some kind of connection, totally connection of pleasure and joyful of God through the eroticism. So it's so when we start thinking about this character that could blur the line between sexuality and religion, something become very strong for us, because if she's enough to make her faith stronger than we just think it's a movie about sex, we are in a good like shape, because yeah.
Now, you were breaking up for me. I hope it all came through. I think I have a weak Wi-Fi channel here. I think my wife is also listening in on the Q&A, and I would just say that perhaps I need you to turn off the turn off the second Wi-Fi so that you don't break me up, Vanessa, if you're out there listening.
We did hear everything, Ted. We heard him fine.
And Ted, what's very curious about, like, I'm here? I think Ted's not here anymore.
What were you going to say, Gabriel? Keep talking, Gabriel, and Ted will come back, I think.
Okay. I'm going. Yeah, Ted's is freezing. Yes, the fun thing about instead here, Ted's back.
We're trying, but actually
Turn it off. Just shut. Thanks. Sorry.
That's fine. The funny thing about when you think about statics of the evangelical, I had a big challenge, because in Brazilian evangelism they neglect the tradition of the holy arts of the Catholics. So the evangelical in Brazil, they do not use any kind of sculpture, no cross, no crosses, no saint, no image. So it's a very, very contemporary religion, white cube religion, very conceptual religion. It's a very iconoclast religion. So we are talking about a conservative religion that are totally integrated in the most contemporary trend movements of arts. For me, the curious, the ambivalence talking about the conservative agenda was to understand that this conservative movement are using some tools of the conceptual art. So for me, what was the conceptual art, Andy Warhol, for the history of art, it is the Brazilian evangelism statics to the history of religion, because it's a white cube religion. So I had a huge challenge to make a movie without like a white cube, without image, without sound, without nothing. So I only had the tools of using the color of the lights, the smoke, and the music, and create like a religious ritual.
It all felt so spot on to me. Like each of the rituals that were there, like even though they made me laugh, I also at the same time felt like, yeah, if there was a religion in 2027, this is what it would be. The robes, the baptismals, the rolling over the bodies, and perhaps more. I'm curious just in terms of how you and your collaborators conceived of this world, what were there any organizing principles about how to visualize it? And perhaps like with this, like just because it's so striking, the color design throughout the movie, it feels like there were some big choices there, but I'd be hard pressed to find a single dull frame in that movie. It's so beautiful, really fantastic work with your DP and designer both.
Yeah, thank you. You're very kind. Yes, it was such a big challenge for us. It's like white cube religion, so we had to use the rituals through the perspective of the sensory experience. No?
What was there first one that you thought of, like when you were building it out, just in the process of designing that? Was there like where did you begin?
Now, the funny thing is, I started writing, and then when it was almost close to the shooting, we thought, oh gosh, they have no elements to compose the scenario. So it was like a further step when you discover later after the script, like almost ready, that we are talking about religion that's so contemporary. There is no visual like stuff to compose the but of course in some way the people that were working to me, they knew that I had like a strong visual uh, interest. So we had to, so we start creating elements that could develop some kind of visual statement. For example, we brought the light to the scenario, so the neon divine love symbol, it became a huge obsession for us, because
Loved it. Just like from the opening titles, just the patience that you have with it, and then the lights coming in, and then into the rave sequence. Like, yeah, it was perfect for me.
So for us, it was a big challenge to bring this light, these elements, to inside of the story, like. And also there's the smoke, the pasto at some point when you are in the drive-through.
Yeah, I
and
love that.
when at some point he put like the smoke as a strong experience that he's offering to you, so it was so amazing to discover all these small elements and play in scene.
That scene, the first time we're in the drive-through confession or blessing, and he plays the hymn and he speaks over it, and the smoke's coming in and she's welling up. The whole wow, it worked.
Yeah, so in general, I was really excited to make a movie about this, what I call it, the biopolitical control of the body. We are facing like a very conservative shift in Brazilian society. And I try to make a movie using this idea of playing with the dystopia reference, but instead of creating a character that's fighting against the system, my character actually is happy, and he wants even more religion in the society. So it was I tried to break some kind of like expectation of the tradition of the genre in terms of how do you proceed when you are talking about dystopia. So I tried to blend some kind of reference between like dystopia and soft porn movies, Japanese pink movies. We have in Brazil like underground movement in the cinema in the 80s called porno chanchada, almost like some like soft porn Brazilian movies. And I try to blend this religion stuff, soft porn and dystopia, and create some kind of monster that could talk about the contemporary Brazilian society.
I think when we finally all reach 2027, we're gonna see that it actually exists.
Oh my gosh.
Did you, it is so striking visually. Did you and your team, how did you decide on the color scheme? specifically? I'm just wondering, like, did you feel like this pink represents one thing and the blue represents another, or?
Yeah, we had some kind of like conservative speech in Brazilian ministry, uh, the conservative agenda. They talk about that women should go back to using pink, and men should use blue in the school. So we this stuff came very strong in the Brazilian media. At some point, we tried to blend this reference in the movie and reappropriate. So the movie talks about this reappropriation of the pop culture by the conservative groups. So
Yeah.
because I think in general, we artists, intellectuals, like scientists, we try to portray the conservatives as something very like boring. But actually, what I'm trying to provoke here is like, when the conservatives people start reappropriating our agenda or the progressive agenda, what's going to happen? How we are going to reshape our identity when this progressive identity is erased? So
Yeah.
what's going to happen? So that's my question. And Divine Love in some way shows how strong it is when this conservative religions movement is using something that we associate to something liberal, like swing sex, swing clubs, but these gospel rituals are being used to promote the family, to keep the family together. They're doing that to keep the love for God and the family together. So that's the stuff that
It feels incredibly prescient. Like I remember, 4 years ago around this time, I don't know if you've seen the filmmaker Adam Curtis, documentarian, released a film right after the election called Hypernormalization. Do you know this documentary?
no,
It's on
no.
YouTube. You should check it out, because
Okay.
what it explains is, in this country, how Trump and Putin in Russia appropriated some of the same techniques of the avant-garde theater, even employing in Russia, employing a leader from the avant-garde theater, precisely in how we kind of destabilize truth, and what that's done. And watching the film, Vanessa, my wife, and I had a very short conversation of afterwards, that's just lingers with me, which is just about how effectively the film captures how love, it can be used as a tool for control. The concept, the idea of love, like they're all committed, yet what are they actually committed to? It is a very patriarchal, bureaucratic, her faith in the bureaucracy and all of the process. They've surrendered their individual choice for this higher ideal. And I just felt to me that you did capture that really wonderfully and uniquely.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Um, we can open it up for some Q&A, and we'll certainly find some talk. I think I hit a bit of Adam Mulcher's question about world building and production design in it. I don't if there's more to it. Like Adam just wanted to highlight how he loved how you kept it both grounded and banal, but also gave some real strangeness to the world. To me, like the other piece that came, like I was just amazed, like really in like establishing worlds, which is people love that here in terms of pop cinema. And I've had so many conversations is how do we define the rules of the world when I'm developing scripts with people. But in literally like 3 shots, you accomplish so much, like from the opening rave,
Yeah.
they're all dancing and, giving themselves over, to the shot on the beach where, we see the women's bodies covered up, the exact opposite of what I think of when I think of Brazil,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, oh, this is a different world. And then as they go through the fertility pregnancy detector scanner in the office, it's like everyday life, but you've already established for us how much further along they are, like super economically and visually, with humor and subtlety.
Yeah, that's true. That in some way, when we talk about in general about like a near future or like futurism, the people in general talk about gadgets, about technology. I was trying to avoid the understanding of future or the reflecting future through technology. But maybe for the lack of technology, or maybe for the because the control of technology, and so that's why also I start the movie talking about the Brazilian has changed, because the most important part in Brazil is not the carnival anymore. Is like is an evangelical rave gospel electronic party. So I tried to portray a hyper change in Brazil through the perspective of a cultural change, and not necessarily by a technology advance.
Yeah.
This question is very special to me, as it really touched where I was looking for, in terms of finding a way to talk about a society, find a way to talk about like a displacement time space. Like 2007 is almost now, so we're talking about a very, very near future, maybe a near past, maybe something displaced of time space, but something totally changed. And it was the male, it was the female body, it was the how it was covered, and how the parties are not the carnival anymore.
It was great. Kevin Powell sent a note that asking about what kind of conversations in Brazilian society and even globally do you hope the film would lead to, given its many layers. And he also wanted to let you know that it's an excellent film. That's all caps. Excellent.
Thank you very much, Kevin. The crazy stuff is that I hope the movie can improve the reflections about Brazilian society and how this conservative agenda has really shifted our society, and they have now a strong power in the government and the deputy, and it's been so strong for us to face this the conservative agenda in the Congress, no. But also the movie is not just about Brazil. When you think about all this conservative shift in the world, not only in Brazil but in US, in Poland, and a lot of countries are facing even worse stuff, like even worse perspectives. And I think what I hope is that the movie can play in a intriguing way, not just make a stereotype of the otherness, like to not as much as we think our enemy is caricatural. I think for me it's a problem, because I prefer to think they are so smart. I prefer to think my enemy is so sophisticated, because it makes me even stronger to look to myself and find different tools to fight against this totalitarianism in our society, no? So this, I think it's important to us to understand something sophisticated are being developed in the other side as well. So we need to look to ourselves, rethink about ourselves beliefs, and find new solutions, new strategies of play and game, and that's why Divine Love has this tricky movement of play with a character of faith, that actually she wants even more faith to the society.
Great. Karen Karen Zadenberg, brought up the question of voiceover, which was also something I was really curious about. You know, when was the voiceover conceived of from the very beginning in the script stage? Was it always the child's voiceover? It was very effectively played out for me in a super satisfying way. So
Thank you. The funny thing to me is that when I start reading the Bible, I understood that there is a lot of moments where the angels come to the story. When the Bible becomes very surrealistic, very surreal, the angels comes and say and tell the story by like what we call the God's ex machina, no, the Deus ex machina. So this whole of narration to narrate the story from an above perspective at some point is totally avoided by us filmmakers, no, the Deus ex machina. But as I was talking and I was creating a movie about religion and about God and about Jesus, I try to face this stigma that we in general we try to avoid. So I try to create this kind of character that is like Philos Deus ex machina, the son of God ex machina, that talk the story from his point of view about his own story. So actually the movie is near future 2027, but the time, the verbs that are the story are being told is in the past. He said it was 2027.
Yeah.
The Brazil had changed. Everything is addressed to the past. So it creates also like a displacement of time space where the film actually is in the future, but the verbs are the narration is that this Philos Deus ex machina are telling the story actually is in the past. So something happened. It creates some kind of hope in us. At least he's talking about something that it's already changed.
I love that you got him peeing at the end, not to spoil it at but it just felt the totally appropriate gesture.
And just a curiosity, the narrator is the voiceover is actually my son. So
He's great. He's really good.
I took him to the studio and it was a fun moment. Yeah.
He's got a future, man. He's got a future. Stefan points out that in the movie, you know, it seems that divine love became the religion of the country. Yet, from what you said, you were also inspired by the multiple, you know, blooming of multiple religious groups. And Stefan wondered that in terms of control, what do you fear the most? Uniformization and groupthink, or that kind of divide and conquer polarizing strategy?
It's difficult to say, but what I try to bring to the movie is the idea of the importance of thinking about aesthetics, because we in general are all the time talk about politics, blah blah blah. We are so polarized. We quite never are open to even understand what the otherness or the other want to say. So we are just like closing the gates of communication. And what I understood from divine law is that it's not easy to talk or to attack or to be attacked, because the work of the evangelical movement are so rooted in the communities where they had a lack of state. So they are creating like experience of collectiveness. They are very present in their lives. Even so, for a large period of time, the intellectuals in Brazil were attacking the evangelical people, just saying like, oh, the pastors are just interested in your money because you are sponsor them with your percentage of your fees, blah blah blah. But actually, to the people that had never any kind of economical finance organization, if they donate like 10% to the church, this 10% of the church, it is the first time he thought about percentage of finance. It means that this guy, for the first time in his life, he is organized financially, because now he can secure 10% of the church. So it means that it's a revolutionary change the life of these people that are converted, because now he has a control of their finance. So it's so complex when you talk about the otherness. And what I try to understand, that we must to find a new way to understand politics, and also to reflect about aesthetic. Because if it's a religion with white cube and the word of God, this word can be reshaped, can change. There is a space for some change inside of the structure. So I'm hoping that, and also understanding that a new trends of religions and even evangelical religion are changing, and there is some kind of pastors that are talking about new ways of politics. So I hope new voice inside of evangelical movement are able to come to the progressive agenda. That's my.
You hear? It was curious. There's a question about in this future world, where is the place for LGBTQ people? In this kind of dystopian, oppressively heteronormative, future. How much of that was of a conscious choice? Have they all been eliminated? Just thinking of where we are now, that the attacks on and control of the gay community is such a cornerstone of the religious right everywhere. What's happened here?
Yes, I think it's a great question, but as the character had a very special issue in her life, and in some way I was really talking about this ideal family, an ideal character that was dreaming to belong to the church, if she was able to have like a proper family under her beliefs. So and the funny thing, at some point in the script, an LGBT travestite would come in the script. She should be attended by her, but when in the editing, we didn't use that because it didn't work to the purpose of the movie. But yes, it was very difficult to find line, but we understand at some point that we were talking about this character, and if you open a lot of new layers about other stuff that are demanding our reflections, sometimes we don't play in the right stuff, because at some point I understood that it wasn't working to the movie, and it was working to the reflection I was addressing, because yes, the complexity of the editing, yes, it didn't came to the.
It was also like in a similar way. We had a question again from Karen Sadgenberg, that this is a future that really, affects women, and in particular, and yet, on one hand, their bodies are always, covered up, except in the ritual and church processes, but here you have the story and the plot hinging on questions of fertility, and of course that's something that people age out of, and just kind of, personally, like I found the age of the character being, right, presumably like on the cusp of that, like, where is she in terms of her own fertility and all of that. And I assume that was a conscious choice, but also a very precarious one that you had to balance. How a world that hides and shames, yet a act that uh, displays, and how much does the society value people because of their fertility versus a non-fertility?
Yeah, it is a very great question. I think even in the in the Bible, all the reasons in the Bible about fertility are addressed to the female body, the female body. Yes. And how many times have you seen in movies a female body lying in a medical context being examined by in the womb?
No, I love that you did that with the man. That was
Yeah,
awesome.
we've seen there a thousand movies using the female body in this kind of tension about fertility, but I've never seen a man actually scientifically the large majority of cases of infertility are not connected to the female body, but to the male body, to the male challenge. So it was, I think, it was quite special to me to invert this perspective. Even as a male director, I tried to talking about this reappropriation, the representation of the male body in cinema. For example, we see this. I've never seen these testicles exams in movies. I've never seen also this guy doing this process of therapy where he's laid. How can I say this?
Well, I was going to say, you are, as I understand, you are releasing your own. You've invented the Fert Red, and it's now available for purchase on Amazon worldwide. Is that right?
Almost like that. Oh my gosh. Yes, it's curious to see how in cinema, especially because the large majority of male directors, how many times the male directors repeat the scenes using the female bodies in the same way. So instead of that, I try to reuse the male body in a different way. So and we see that when you mirror what the history of cinema has done with the female body, but when you see the male body, we say, oh fuck. Nah? So yeah. I think it's so important what we are living now, like facing this reflection about representation of the female body movies. But also, I think it's so important to rethink about radically we are representing the masculinity in cinema as well, like how we are representing the male body as well.
We have a question from Don Spector about where in Brazil the movie was filmed and how much of that choice was practical versus a context that was relevant to the film. And it made me also wonder about other aspects that perhaps, being here in America, are there other cultural things that we might have missed that if we knew Brazilian culture better, we might respond to?
The movie was shot in Recife, the city I live, and and especially Recife is cheaper than São Paulo in Rio, so it's a very special city in the Brazilian indie cinema, like films like Kleber Mendonça, Bacurau, Aquarius. He's also from Recife, Northeast Brazil. So we are living a quite intense and fruitful scene of indie movie in Brazil, in the Northeast, in Recife. So it's a great moment to make this kind of movie. And in the narrative, at some point, I try to reshape the city, the background. So I create some kind of like a non-recognizable city, just to avoid some kind of localization, to create like some kind of like prejudice. Oh no, he's talking about Recife, he's talking about that city. I try to create this some kind of like a small displacement of recognize the city. So it helped.
I loved the overpass that you had that was under construction by the house. Is that was that actual or was that a CGI? I wasn't sure whether you put that in or not.
It's a mix of CGI and reality. So I quite like to find locations that are with a small element of CGI, you can pop up a new, to flourish a new idea, no? So
I remember thinking, watching the movie many times, there's that one shot of her where she goes to catch her breath in like the last third of the movie, and she's at the office and she goes and there's a place with lots of fountains and sprinklers. And I was like, Gabriel probably had found this spot. I was like, one day I'm going to use this as a shot in my movie. It was a lot of those beautiful.
Yeah, the funny stuff is that Brazil is really recognizable in the internationally about the modernist architecture, like Brasilia city, Oscar Niemeyer architect, and Niemeyer, this architect, is a very utopian modernist, and and we use the same architecture but used by this bureaucratic evangelical state. So it was some kind of like displacement of the original use of this utopian architecture that could sign to the future in terms of like equality, like democracy, but reappropriated bureaucratically by the state evangelical, like something.
Yeah, no, I love the, she felt that the essence of equality was bureaucracy. All too true. We all suffer. This is I actually believe we've reached the end of our allotted time here. I just want to remind all the folks who are out there, please go use social media and help spread the word. Outside of Pictures is a small operation. We all need to, particularly in these times, help the distributors and the exhibitors and the filmmakers who make such ambitiously authored work, that is so exciting for us all. We have to help. So, don't forget to spread the love. Sharing is loving, or love is sharing, I think.
Love shares.
Love shares. So again, on Instagram and Facebook, use at Outsider Pictures, and on Twitter it's Outsider Pics, Pics, and then you can share the link wherever you can. From the outsiderpictures.us website. That's outsiderpictures.us. And the beauty of these times, you can share that link and have all your friends and family watch the film. And one ticket means a whole household can watch the movie at once. So invite the friends and share the love. Gabriel, thank you, man, for doing this, for making this movie. People should go back and watch Neon Bull, prior movie, and we look forward to many more great films from you.
Thank you very much, Ted. You're very kind for being with me here, and thank you for the questions, the people that spend the time to listen to us and collaborating in this conversation. And thank you, Paul, for distributing the movies in US. And I'm so happy we are doing this, especially now in this moment where we are hoping for the future, no?
All right. Thank you all.